How in the world did Hyundai go from zero to hero? I mean, it felt like yesterday the coolest Hyundai looked like this. And yet, in the last 7 years, the N division has launched the i30N, the Elantra N, the Kona N, the Veloster N, and now, for the very first time, the production model Ioniq 5N, coming to terrorize the streets near you very soon, and the beautiful Envision 74 and RN22E concepts. And these new offerings have essentially killed the internal combustion engine. So, how did that happen? And why are car enthusiasts and even non-car guys excited for the Ioniq 5N? I'm Brad, this is Blinker Fluid, let's go! Now, the letter N, which is both the first letter in Nürburgring and Hyundai's performance department, just like BMW has the M division, Porsche has their GT cars, and Mercedes has AMG. The Korean automaker convinced former BMW exec Thomas Shimera? This guy, to head up Hyundai's high-performance vehicle division and introduced the now legendary Veloster N to the US market. This was a time when Hyundai was known as a brand with a laser focus on value. You know, building cars like the Sonata and the Elantra, which were known as the poor man's Toyotas, not high-performance pocket rockets with manual transmissions and stock crackle pops. But as that car was being launched to the public, behind the scenes, Hyundai Motors R&D boss, Mr. Albert Biermann, said electrification is definitely in the cards for the N brand. And just like BMW takes a regular old 3 Series and then the M Performance division carefully combs through the whole thing and modifies anything and everything they see fit to make it an M3, Hyundai unveiled this. The 45 EV concept debuted at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 2019, inspired by the original Hyundai Pony, with the 45 paying tribute to the 45th anniversary of the Pony Coupe. It of course became the Ioniq 5 and the test bed for the N division to electrify the competition. And the result is nothing short of incredible. It's the first N vehicle, and it's lower, it's wider, and longer than the basic Ioniq 5, with not one but 2 motors creating up to 650 horsepower. Outside it looks retro-futuristic, and inside it has flappy paddles to simulate an 8-speed automatic gearbox, and it can charge from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. But the best part, you guys, is that this thing actually made it to production and is available to the public. I have friends, well, we'll call them acquaintances that hate cars, that have asked me about the Ioniq N. And, well, it only gets better. Take the recently unveiled Envision 74, another zero-emission car that looks like a Lancia Delta Integrale and a DeLorean DMC-12 had a one-night stand. I wonder if the top speed's gonna be electronically limited to 87 miles per hour. And like the Ioniq 45 EV concept, this one also pays homage to the Pony Coupe concept, penned by Giorgio, whatever his name is, back in 1974. This time though, the Envision 74 Hybrid hosts hydrogen fuel cells and 2 rear-mounted electric motors that act as a virtual differential. And range anxiety? Say no more. With 373 miles of combined range and 670 horsepower on tap, you essentially get all the goods from an internal combustion engine with none of the harmful pollutants, minus the noise, the smell of gasoline. Think of it like what Porsche did with the 918. It was a concept to show that hybrid technology could not only save the polar bears, but also lead to extreme performance. And it was so well received by the public that they actually built it, which gives us hope, because the reception of the Vision 74 has caused more stir than the Demon 170's horsepower numbers. And with Hyundai's track record, well, they're actually crazy enough to build this thing. In fact, it's reported that it's greenlit for production. And this is pretty much proof that Hyundai doesn't build concept cars. They build concept cars with the intention to wow the public and then give them what they want. Kind of like when Dodge did the original Viper concept, where the concept ended up looking like the real thing. But as cool as the Envision 74 is, Hyundai also surprised us with the RN22E, a surprise concept based on the Ioniq 6, kicking out 577 horses out of dual motors. And remember, with electric cars, max torque starts at 0 RPM. And for you enthusiasts that will miss the sound of your dinosaur fuel-burning machines, Hyundai developed an N Sound Plus system. Yes, to let you and your neighbors hear the glorious sound of an internal combustion engine. And no, it's not gonna sound like the new Dodge Charger Fratzonic EV. What were they even thinking? Instead, you get to pick your sound. Want a Voodoo V8? Psh, no problem. How about an exotic Gallardo V10 coming right up? Or a Tesla Model S Plaid? Not quite. Now, these new offerings from Hyundai made me stop thinking about cylinders and pistons burning hydrocarbons, and instead dreaming that the future could be electric.
What's going on with you? What are you talking about?
But hold on, because we have to overcome 4 main barriers for EV mass adoption. And number 1 is charging infrastructure. Obviously, I mean, an EV is essentially an iPhone on wheels. And like your iPhone, it needs to be charged, ideally before it dies. They call this range anxiety. With a gas-powered car, you know you're only a few miles at most away from a gas station unless you're in Death Valley or something. Where in an EV, that 6-hour drive could turn into an 8 or 10-hour drive if compatible fast chargers aren't directly on your intended route. Which brings us to number 2, EV performance. Right now, sans like the Lucid Air, you're looking at a couple hundred miles on a charge. At freeway speeds, that's around 4 hours of driving, which isn't a whole lot before you have to stop. Driving from coast to coast in a typical car takes a motivated driver 4 to 6 days. Unless you're Ed Bullion or Alex Roy, but in an EV, it'll take much longer. And has your iPhone ever shut down because it got too hot in the sun? Or have you ever noticed your battery deplete quickly in freezing temperatures? Yeah, EVs also only can perform for short stints at full capacity before they overheat and lose performance, or drain themselves down trying to keep their cells up to temp. Which brings us to the 3rd and 4th barrier, availability and affordability. Aside from Teslas and a couple strange market research jobs like the GM EV1, modern EVs have really only been out a few years, meaning not a lot have hit the secondhand market yet. And consumers, well, they're wary of buying a used EV because you don't get the tax credit, and they worry they'll depreciate like old iPhones. Which brings up affordability. Unfortunately, most EVs are for the top earners right now. That Ioniq 5N will cost as much as a brand new BMW M3, which doesn't have a perceived range issue and is a car that BMW has been building and refining for nearly 40 years at this point. While the N will be in its first year of production, and like pretty much all new products will most likely have the first generation issues that plague it. I know we can all appreciate how the Ioniq 5N, the Envision 74, and the RN22E concepts are gonna push the ball forward in the net zero automotive game. And the fact that it came from the most unlikely of places, Hyundai, proves that as we try to mass adopt EVs, you can't underestimate anyone. Yet, is this push enough to kill the internal combustion engine? Let us know in the comments below. Okay. If you had to take one home today, would you take home the dinosaur burning Veloster N, or would you take home the Envision 74? I know this one's winning the looks department, but is there any replacement for displacement? Also, if you enjoyed this vid, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Turn on that notification bell. I'm Brad, this is Ideal. Check out this Ideal vid up here, or whatever YouTube recommends you watch next, and promise me one thing, keep living the Ideal lifestyle.